Hi everyone, and welcome to today's Zero Waste workshop. And welcome to Plastic Free July. I hope your July is going well so far. So if you haven't met me before, I am a passionate sustainability advisor, and I run two companies. The first one is Platform 61. It's actually a restaurant on South William Street in Dublin. It was the first restaurant, it opened in 2014, and it was the first restaurant in Ireland that banned plastic straws and takeaway coffee cups back in 2015 and 16. And then my second company is called Edamame Eco. It specializes in sustainable promotional products. So I'd like to say that we're on a mission to disrupt and fix the current traditional promotional products market by introducing sustainable alternatives. So we would do things like coffee cups that are made from stainless steel and can be reused numerous times, water bottles like this one, bamboo coffee cups, bamboo pens, diaries, and things like that. So let's start off with our zero waste presentation. Oops. So zero waste can feel daunting and unachievable and overwhelming. It's the actual term zero, it represents sort of a mountain that we will never be able to climb, something that we'll never be able to achieve. However, this webinar will introduce to you zero waste challenges that are much simpler, attainable, and much more achievable. So the purpose is to break down the big sustainability goals into smaller sustainable steps that bring you closer to living a more considered life without feeling overwhelmed. The challenge will cover how to buy less, reduce food waste, change your habits, be an eco enthusiast, make sustainable swaps, save energy, reduce single-use plastics, and avoidable waste. This challenge is all about making zero waste more attainable and flexible so that it actually suits you. Living sustainably needs not to be only about what's best for the planet, but also what's sustainable for you and what works for you. So hopefully this zero waste challenge makes that possible. So what is the definition of zero waste? Zero waste is a philosophy that encourages the redesign of resource life cycles so that all products are reused. No rubbish is sent to landfills or incinerators, and the process recommended is one similar to the way that resources are actually reused in nature. So the aims and the objectives of zero waste are to see a reduction in the amount of waste that is sent to the landfill, to encourage people to avoid waste and to reuse and recycle more. And that there is a huge, obviously, objective and aim, that's the awareness on environmental waste issues and behavior change that needs to happen, behavior change on those issues. Why are we talking about this? Obviously, waste has a huge impact on our oceanic environments. Ocean is where we get our air from. Ocean is where we get our oxygen from. Currently, humanity uses the equivalent of 1.7 planets to provide resources necessary to produce goods and absorb waste. We're basically using much more than we can afford and that the Earth has to provide. In 2015, there was a study that reported that 5.25 trillion pieces of debris are currently in the ocean. Of that, 269,000 tons float on the ocean surface, while roughly 1 billion microfibers litter the deeper ocean levels. And as I said, we actually get our oxygen from the ocean. So this is an alarming issue. You have probably heard about the world's garbage patches. The most significant is the South Pacific garbage patch. There's now, so what is it? It's basically a giant plastic soup that floats around the ocean. And the South Pacific garbage patch is the first one that was discovered back in the 80s. And it's basically 3 times the size of the area of France. So that's how big and significant it is. And there's currently 5 garbage patches around the world. And if you ask yourselves, why can't we just clean it up? Well, it's actually impossible. It would take 167 ships to clean it throughout the year, and they would be only able to clean 1% of the garbage patches. So, you know, it's almost impossible. So, and the biggest problem with the garbage patches in the ocean is the plastic pollution. 73% of all beach litter is plastic, and majority of this, of the waste in the garbage patches is plastic. So anything from cigarette butts, bottle caps, food wrappers, grocery bags, plastic bottles. Yet over the last 50 years, the global plastic production has doubled. And for example, 1 million plastic bottles are bought around the world every single minute. And we all know that plastic does not just decompose. It takes a plastic bottle or a plastic bag up to 1,000 years to decompose. And even then, it doesn't completely break down. It breaks down into small pieces of microplastic that are always there in the air, in the water, and ultimately in our food chain as well. And each year, around 8 metric tons of plastic enter the world's oceans. To put it in perspective, it's like binning a garbage truck full of plastic into the ocean every single minute, you know, and we still do it. It's just crazy. So let's look at the Irish perspective. How much waste does an average Irish person produce? So unfortunately, Ireland is the top producer of plastic waste in the European Union. The statistics show that Europe's top 5 plastic waste offenders, this is calculated by per capita. So Ireland is the number 1. We produce around 61 kilograms of waste per person per year. The other 2 countries that are above the 40 kilograms per year are Luxembourg with 52 kilograms and Estonia with 46 kilograms. The 4th place then goes to Germany with 37 kilos of waste per person, and then Portugal 36. As you can see on the screen here, some of the Nordic countries have managed to keep that waste in between 10 and 19, and this is what we need to strive for. So we need to be much, much better. 61 kilos per person for a small country like Ireland is way too much. What's in our waste? So there's, as you can see here on the screen, paper accounts for 18%, plastic accounts for 12%, glass 3%, metal 5%. All of this can be recycled. The biggest part is the compostable organic, 37%. Again, all of this can be recycled and it's managed. So these are the main steps in the zero waste theory. So firstly, reduce. We absolutely need to reduce the amount of waste that we produce. Reuse the materials that we have around us. Recycle any of the materials that have come to the end of the life cycle, then recover energy from that waste, and then landfill should be the least favored option and an absolute last resort and a last option. So the biggest, obviously, solution that everybody's talking about now is the circular economy model. It focuses on designing our waste and pollution from our current take, make, waste. It's a linear model, take, make, waste that we are currently, as majority of the world is using, to a circular economy model, which is keeping products and materials in use for as long as possible. So as our population continues to rise, our economy is constantly expanding, and we cannot continue with our current linear model that relies heavily on resource extraction. So at the moment, like I said, we're using 1.7 planets to produce everything that we need for our everyday life. But this is estimated to rise to 3 planets by 2050. And you know, there's no planet B, we only have one planet. So this is absolutely impossible to continue this way. So the circular economy model focuses on recycling materials currently in use to maximize their lifespan and reduce our dependency on raw materials. It also has the potential to solve our climate crisis. As you can see here in the graphic, so this is what the zero waste system looks like. So from the linear system that we are using at the moment, in the top part, raw materials, we extract them from the ground, we produce something, we consume it, and then it goes to disposal. We need to absolutely change from that to a closed loop system. So the product needs to be repaired and maintained. It then needs to be returned and disassembled. And then the recycled materials need to be reused again in green manufacturing. And that is the closed loop circle that we're talking about, the circular model. So Ireland has been talking about this for a long time, and at the moment, this is actually with our policymakers to make huge changes. But we, as a society, absolutely need to be vocal about it and press them to make quicker changes. The challenges that we have at the moment in transitioning to a circular economy are threefold. So the first one is product redesign. You know yourself that many manufacturers are strategically designing products that have limited life in order to encourage you to repeatedly repurchase the same product. Something breaks, it's super cheap, you just buy a new one, and the previous product just ends up in the bin. The repair sector needs to work differently. It's currently in dire need of investment to flip that current so that repairing is always cheaper and better than replacing. So that's the first thing that has to happen. Secondly, waste segregation. Our current waste collection system is absolutely flawed. At the level of segregation of materials, it's just too simplistic, and it results in potentially really good recyclable materials being discarded as waste. So we need to invest in a lucrative waste management alternative that needs to be developed to facilitate successful segregation that is evident in other parts of Europe. And this is how we will achieve bringing that 61 kilos per person waste down to 10 to 19. And finally, the biggest shift is the behavioral and cultural change. So discarded items should be viewed as resource rather than waste that requires disposal. So we just need to change the mindset. Recycling. So recycling is an option. Like I said, reusing should be always the first option to have, and then recycling at the end of the product's life cycle. We're currently familiar with the monomer processes. It's basically reversing the polymerization reaction in order to recycle the same type of condensed polymer. So the same plastic is being recycled to the same plastic. And the process purifies and cleans plastic to create new plastic. There's loads of issues with this process as well, because not many people know plastic can actually only be recycled up to 3 times. And then every single time you need to add virgin plastic that's obviously extracted from fossil fuels to make it stronger. And around 4th or 5th time, that recycling process actually doesn't work anymore because the plastic becomes just too soft. The heat compression is the recycling process that's actually gaining demand in the US, Australia, and Japan. We don't currently have it here, but it recycles all types of plastic at once. So for example, Ireland at the moment cannot recycle potato crisps bags. We just don't have the facilities for that. So all of that ends in the landfill. But this heat compression recycling process recycles all of the different types of plastic in a huge tumbler. And the advantage is that you don't require the matching forms of plastic. The benefits are obviously 90% of waste is plastic waste, as we heard. And the benefits of recycling are that it conserves energy and natural resources. We don't have to extract that many resources from the ground, and it clears landfill space. Again, we're a small country. We only have a limited amount of space as well. So landfill should always be the last option. The environmental benefits of recycling are it conserves energy, reduces air and water pollution, reduces greenhouse gases, and conserves natural resources. So these are just some of the items that normally go into the landfill, compost, and recycling. As you can see, recycling things like cardboard and clean paper, water bottles, glass bottles, plastic containers, juice boxes, aluminum trays, and things like that. Compost is fantastic because you can compost anything from your food scraps to paper towels and tissues, fruit and veg scraps to dirty paper, chicken, paper cups, things like that. And then landfill, like the last option that we should always look for, things like latex gloves, glue sticks, pens and pencils, the little pouches from ketchup, potato crisp packaging, and things like that. So all of that ends up in the landfill at the moment. What is landfill? Landfill is basically ground that is lined ultimately with clay and a 1/4 of an inch layer of plastic. They build drains and pipes to collect the leachate, and basically this gathers then and it's treated and released. However, when the landfill reaches its capacity, the layers of clay and plastic are laid on top of it with soil and dirt. Landfill is not designed to break down waste. It's simply designed to store it. So we don't do anything with this. Garbage breaks down slowly. Oxygen depleted bacteria releases methane. Methane is a very potent greenhouse gas. It contributes to global warming. It's 25 times more toxic than CO2, but it can be released and sold and burned for energy. This is what a landfill looks like. So the clay liner, so it doesn't go into the ground, and then we basically pile up the rubbish and we just bury it. So what are the health and biological impacts of our waste? The growing volumes of solid and hazardous waste is a major threat to our health as well as to animals. Infectious diseases. So our current waste management techniques lead to various health hazards such as air pollution, marine pollution, and infectious disease. Not disposing of waste properly or burning it, such as burning plastics and chemicals used in factories, emits hazardous toxic chemicals into the atmosphere and causes air pollution. Air pollution is then linked to a range of short-term respiratory systems like coughing, throat irritation, chest tightness, shortness of breath, and can even cause long-term damage and other diseases. Also, in some extreme cases, it can cause lung cancer as well. The health effects of marine pollution. So ocean dumping, like we've seen, and plastic dumping in the ocean is having an extreme adverse effect on marine animals' health. When plastic that is not degradable is deposited into the ocean, marine animals often digest it or they get physically trapped in it, where it damages their anatomy, it reduces their survival and reproductive success, and it ultimately leads to fatalities. Did you know that actually now at the moment, 1 in 3 fish caught for human consumption contains plastic? And this is the fish that we eat every single day. So these are some of the disturbing images that plastic pollution is causing in the ocean. You can see in the guts of an animal, loads of different types of plastic. Animals actually confuse anything that's floating in the ocean for food. So this is why that happens. Finally, infectious disease. So air and marine pollution isn't the only health hazard that we have to worry about when dealing with waste. We also have to take into account the spread of infectious diseases. So mosquitoes and rodents collect bacteria from unattended trash, and they then become reservoir for viruses that can be transmitted if beaten, obviously. Also, colored plastics contain heavy metals such as copper and lead, and they have been linked to cancer. So this is why some of the colored plastics had been banned in some of the countries. What can we do? So first and foremost, avoid anything that is single-use, disposable and toxic, and replace it with durable and long-lasting. This is what we can do on our personal level as individuals. Then, like I said, we need a big mindset shift, and urge all policymakers as well to make changes. This is a really good example of a policy that's working currently. So New York Recycle Bank gives people points on how much they recycle. So their recycling bins have computer chips that track volume, which then translates into points to be redeemed at local stores. Most commonly, $10 off grocery cards. So this is a really good incentive for people to recycle, and it is really, really working. Human indifference is the greatest adversary to the ocean's sustainability. What you can do is show your support for projects like Ocean Cleanup, Clean Oceans International, Oceana, Surfrider Foundation. All of those projects are available on all of the social media sites. They share every single day what they're doing for the health of the ocean. Secondly, what you can do is push for more companies to start using products with eco-friendly and recyclable packaging. And finally, just be aware of your own impact. Be aware of that figure of 61 kilos of rubbish per person per year. We need to minimize our waste. So these are some of the solutions. So reusable products. So reuse, reuse, reuse before you recycle. That's our motto. So anything from reusable coffee cups, bottles, lunch boxes, even reusable coffee capsules, rechargeable batteries, razors, things like that. These are some of the zero waste kitchen swaps that you can do very easily, and it'll get you on that zero waste journey. For example, swap your paper towels for cloth towels. So paper towels, it's not the biggest problem in the world. However, at the end of the day, we still need to cut down trees to produce paper for the paper towels, and we use them only for a few seconds. And then obviously the best thing you can do is put it in your kitchen compost. But the better thing you can do is swap that for the cloth towels. Secondly, plastic sponges in your kitchen, replace them with natural wood or fiber dish brushes, cotton dish cloths, or silicone sponges even, or loofah sponges. Plastic cling film, absolutely ditch that straight away and replace it with silicone covers, beeswax wraps, or just simple food containers. Then sealable plastic bags and containers, replace them for glass jars or stainless steel containers. You have glass jars in your kitchen every single day, from pickles that you buy. Just absolutely reuse that, and it works perfectly. Plastic bottles, like I said, please replace these straight away with stainless steel water bottles. Plastic shopping bags, replace them for reusable cotton bags. Swap your coffee pods and tea bags. So tea bags actually contain plastic. So you're basically, while drinking tea, you are drinking little particles of microplastic. So replace that for the loose tea or French press straight away. Why are we so obsessed with plastic water bottles? Plastic water bottles are made from petroleum. So fossil fuels that we extract from the earth, PET, it requires giant amounts of fossil fuels to make and to transport. The production of bottled water uses 17 million barrels of oil a year. So that's slightly more than it would take to fill 1 million cars a year with fuel. So that's just plastic bottled water. It takes almost 2,000 times the energy to manufacture the bottle of water than it does to produce tap water. And like we said as well, plastic, it takes up to 1,000 years for every single plastic bottle to break down. And even then, it doesn't completely break down. It leaks dangerous chemicals and becomes microplastic. 80% of all of our plastic bottles, although they are perfectly recyclable, they end up in landfill. This is an alarming statistics. And studies show that toxins leaking into the plastic water bottles cause a variety of health issues, including diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. The dirty takeaway coffee cup. So worldwide, we drink over 1.6 billion cups of coffee every day. Takeaway cups are made from paper, right? So surely this is not a big problem and it can be easily solved with recycling. Sadly not. In order to stop your drink from leaking, there's a thin piece of plastic lining that's added inside the coffee cup, and it actually makes them almost impossible to recycle in the conventional paper recycling mill. In Ireland, we don't have a facility to recycle coffee cups. We have to send them to the UK. So again, there's transportation issues, and people are just not bothered. So as a result, most of the single-use coffee cups are sent to landfill or incinerated. Only 1 in 400 of the coffee cups that we use is being recycled. Cups that are made from plant-based packaging, so compostable cups, they are fantastic. So they have lining that's made from renewable materials and it can be composted after use. It sounds like a perfect solution, and it actually is when you dispose of it in the correct manner. However, it needs to be disposed of in the commercial compost. And the problem is that most of the time when we're on the go, the takeaway coffee cup, you have to dispose of it somewhere. Dublin City doesn't have the facilities to dispose of your takeaway coffee cups in the industrial compost. So these cups end in the general waste bin, and like their predecessors, they just go into the landfill or are incinerated. So unfortunately, the publicly unavailable compost bins are a huge problem for us. And again, something that we need to flag with the government and the policymakers. We estimate that 550,000 cups per day are currently placed on the Irish market every year. So, there's so many beautiful options out there, like, the bamboo, like the stainless steel. These are actually fantastic because they actually keep your drink hot for hours as well. And super light, put it in your bag and voila, problem solved. So these are some of the zero waste bathroom swaps. So you've heard a lot about the bamboo toothbrush and toothpaste tablets, concentrated mouthwash, menstrual cup or washable menstrual pads that are made from hemp and organic cotton, glass nail file instead of the plastic, cream deodorant, face and body oils, washable cotton makeup remover pads, shampoo bars. Then we have the soap bars and reusable bamboo safety razors. All of these items are easily available in our local zero waste stores like Reusey, the Good Neighbour, the Dublin Food Co-op, and so on. Another big problem that we have is the fashion that we buy. So the fashion industry actually accounts for 10% of the global carbon emissions. Did you know that it takes 2,700 liters of water to produce cotton needed to make a single t-shirt? So yet, that we don't really think about it when we buy it. It's super cheap. We're infatuated with newness. And at the moment, the average consumer buys 60% more clothing than we did 15 years ago. Globally, around 56 million tons of clothing are bought each year, and this is expected to rise to 93 million tons by 2030, by which point we are expected to be throwing away more than 134 million tons of textiles per year. We just need to stop our infatuation with newness and reduce our consumption. And there's so many beautiful alternatives out there. We need to take pride in secondhand. Depop is, the perfect example. Vestiaire Collective is another one. TheRealReal.com, Beyond Retro. So many different websites out there that are perfectly fashionable for all your fashion needs, and they support a second hand. Repairing before we recycle, like I said, this is a massive problem in Ireland in particular, because we still don't have the facilities around us that will offer this. Sometimes, you have to search online how to best repair your household items. These are a couple of websites that are very, very useful. Or repairing your clothing with the Zip Yard, fantastic Irish company that will keep your clothes in that circular economy for a little bit longer. Reducing food waste. 1/3 of all of the food that is produced globally is being wasted. So according to the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, it's estimated that approximately 1.3 billion tons of food produced for human consumption is lost or wasted every year. If even 1/4 of that was to be saved, it would be able to feed 870 million individuals. So we just need to be a little bit smarter with planning our meals, buying only when we need to, and when food shopping, look for the local zero package shops and markets like the Green Door Market, Veganic, Small Changes, Whole Foods, the Source Bulk Foods, the Good Neighbor, and so on. Eating more plants, it doesn't mean all of us need to become vegetarians and vegans, but maybe reducing that one burger or steak per week and replacing it with a plant-based meal would actually do a lot of good. For every gram of beef produced, 221 grams of carbon dioxide are emitted. And then finally, start composting at home. It's the most environmentally friendly way to dispose of your kitchen and garden waste. Thank you very much.